So I've been watching the Vosh versus Destiny debate, and yes, I do watch Vosh. I'm a Vosh connoisseur, believe it or not. I like to listen to what communists think and what they say. And today was a very interesting debate. It was about morality. Communists having morality. That's astonishing. But anyway, they were talking about the recent event in the United States, which almost no one knows what happened right now, except for maybe the investigators. But you know how it is with the mainstream media, like something happens and there's just one footage on the internet and they all like to make speculations and they all like to talk about it without having the full context because ratings, that's why. I love how Vosh said it's like, oh yes, I need to talk about it right now because if not, the people from the alt-right are going to set the story, they're going to set the stage, so I need to be like this counterbalance, this counter-narrative. Yes, absolutely. You know, what would we do without the counter-narrative? This is why I don't like to talk about these things, by the way, because it's so easy to jump the gun. I remember when the left had the biggest egg on their face. And there was like this left-leaning person that I used to talk with, a university professor, in fact. And they showed me this article. It's like, look, Trump's America. And it was like this elderly Mexican chap, which ended up in the hospital after having his face smashed in with a brick. And the person that did that said, go back to your country. And the entire left, like the entire apparatus, the mainstream media industrial complex just started churning news. Trump's America. You know? And then it happens that the person who did that was a black woman. If only they waited 1 or 2 days. And all of a sudden the press was like, they stopped. Silence. Complete silence. Like no more. The university professor went like, yeah, we don't talk about that because we try to highlight systemic racism, and that's not systemic. It's just one event, a random event. Okay, right. Oh, now that we know. So what are we talking about, right? Like, why did Vosh and Destiny have the debate? Because, again, like, there's this footage on the internet, and it happened, like, I think it was just a couple of hours ago. I mean, it's fresh. It's fresh. As Thunderfoot likes to put it, the bodies are still warm. You know, like, that's how... and yeah, the mainstream media is talking about it, and now it's like Vosh is talking about it. So during the riots in the United States, a couple of people, including a 17-year-old, decided to go and open carry assault rifles in front of businesses in order to dissuade people from looting and setting fire to those businesses. And an altercation happened. Like the video isn't providing a lot of context, doesn't show what really has transpired. But the kid was being chased by another individual. And at one point, the kid ends up shooting 2 people. Horrible, right? Like, I mean, loss of human life. What can you say? I blame the authorities. I blame, like any reasonable person, would blame the mayor and the people in charge of that place for allowing this to happen. Like, the police should have been there. You don't need actual citizens to arm up in order to defend their businesses. That's why citizens pay taxes, right? Like that's the purpose of taxes. Like, if that's not the case, then stop making people pay taxes. And I notice how Democrats, the moment the peaceful protesters that intensify arrive in their neighborhood, arrive next to their homes and their businesses, all of a sudden there's cops there. Like, did you notice when they went to CNN? Oh, what do we have? Cops. Okay, so only rich people get to have cops in this brave new world. Okay, fine. All right, that's neither here nor there. But now the conversation is about the morality of the issue. Okay, was it moral for the person to defend himself or not? And here's what I think. I think there's going to be 100% tribalism, like regardless of what happens. The communists, the ones with the hammer and sickle, they care about the protesters, the looters, because they're against private property. Like, they destroy businesses, they damage capitalism, they're the good people. And having the audacity, like having the nerve to actually go there and defend the business makes you the bad guy, no matter what. You know, like in this case, it seems that the person said that the 17-year-old claimed that he is a BLM supporter and he supports the cause, but he was there in order to dissuade people from looting and just allow people to protest on the street. Now, here's my assessment if you really want it, okay, like my low IQ opinion. I genuinely think that the guy was trying to defend himself. The reason for this being that if you actually want to go out and shoot people, just going out there in a crowd and go ratatatatata is going to be a much more effective way of doing it rather than get in a conflict with someone, run away from them, and then shoot them. Like, to me, that doesn't make sense. You know, like if you have the mind of a criminal and you legitimately want to take away human life, the way this guy did it isn't very effective. You know, like criminals are evil people, I agree, especially murderers, but they still have IQ, right? Like they still like they're human beings. They manage to calculate things. So I disagree with the fact that the kid went there with the purpose to take someone else's life. Now, Destiny agrees with me, it seems. Like he finds it acceptable of this being self-defense, while Vosh disagrees. And there were like interesting exchanges back and forth. At one point, the question that Destiny asked Vosh was, if a person, unarmed person, is chasing after a 17-year-old. So the guy is like twice the size of the kid. He's chasing after him, and we know that if he catches him, he's going to beat the kid up. And the kid only has a weapon at him. So is the kid allowed to defend himself using lethal force? Like, he has no other option. He has two options. Either use lethal force in order to defend himself, or he has to subject his body to whatever punishment the guy chasing him wants to inflict upon him. And initially, Vosh said that if he has to choose between a scenario where a human life is lost and another scenario where a person just gets injured, then he will choose the scenario where the person gets injured. So it's perfectly acceptable in this case to, I suppose, like just allow it to happen. Just allow the person that wants to harm you to do you harm because like his life is more important than your suffering, I guess. Communist mentality. Like, what can you ask? You know, like, what can you ask from a communist? Like, that's the thing that he's going to say. And then, you know, like, Destiny replied, well, okay, but if that's the case, if a woman has a handgun in her purse and a rapist is chasing her, is he allowed to shoot the rapist? Or should he allow the rapist to, like, it's a normal question. Like, it's a good follow-up. Like, I'm sorry, but, like, and then Vosh backpedals a little bit. No. Like, all right, you know, like, that is the conversation that took place. Very interesting, isn't it? So no cops, no ability for the people to defend themselves. Just subject yourself to the mob, subject yourself to the communists. And I actually seen communists actually saying this. Like, they literally said this. It's like, no. If the guy was innocent, you know what he should have done? When the mob was following him, he should have showed the mob that he's not dangerous and just raise his hands and subject himself to the will of the people. Really, is that what you would do? Like, did you ever live in a dangerous neighborhood, or are you some secluded bourgeoisie twat LARPing as a communist? Did you ever, you know, got into fisticuff? Like, did you ever went to, I don't know, a football manifestation getting bad? Or, you know, did you ever experience some actual violent protests in your life? Because I did, all right? Like, just what you said, just allow the mob to descend upon you, is mental retardation. All right, like, I'm pretty sure either you're disingenuous or you're living in a fantasy land. I mean, one or the two, I don't know. But anyway, right? So, where were we? Yes. The people on the Twitter are now upset that they are being mocked because any single person that has two neurons to rub together realized that if you're going to say abolish the police, if you're actually going to start defunding the police, people are going to start taking the law in their own hands. Because this is why we have a police to begin with. This is the purpose of the state, right? To prevent citizens from doing violence. This is why the state has a monopoly on violence, so that other people don't take the law in their own hands, because mob justice isn't justice. I mean, I learned this in school. I think I was maybe 6th or 7th grade when we did the civic class. Like, I was really young and I managed to understand these simple concepts, but like, asking a communist to understand them is a little bit too much. I think Vosh understands them as well. Like, I don't think he's stupid, but like, I see people on Twitter that I just think Vosh is a savvy capitalist, a very good businessman that has found a niche on the market. to make money. But anyway, like that's neither here nor there. The main problem is that this was predictable. Like no one is surprised on the right. We've been saying this for weeks now. It's like, look, telling the cops to stand back as other people destroy businesses is going to end up with a tragedy. Like, I'm sorry, but like it's just slippery slope thinking. And I mean, there's more tragedies to come because I've seen Antifa being armed up, and I see right-wing militias armed up. Hopefully, they will never meet. Hopefully, the cops are going to do their job and prevent these people from it. But moving on. Now they're all Pikachu face that this happened. And regardless if the guy is going to be convicted or not, that's not the question. The main purpose of this conversation is to judge the morality of it. And a lot of people are saying call the police. In fact, call the police is trending on Twitter, right? Because the communists don't understand why they're being mocked. Like, why is it? Why are we being mocked? What did we do? It's like, well, you created the environment for this to happen. People told you that this is going to happen. And now that it happened, oh my God, you're going to the same people that lectured you and you're asking, where is the compassion? It's like, where do you think the compassion is? Like, when you defunded the police, you didn't only affect you guys, you affected everyone. I mean, the crime is skyrocketing in the places where the police has been defunded. Last poll that I seen, over 70% of black people want the police to be back and even getting more people and personnel because the crime rates are just off the roof. Yeah, you made life shit for everyone, and now you're wondering, it's like, why aren't people siding with us? Like, the idea that you can defund the police and have an army of psychologists and teachers and educators in order to educate the public so that they don't do crime, again, is mental retardation. Nowhere in the world does this exist, all right? Like, there's no problem in having psychologists and having schools and having all of these things, but they work side by side with the cops. I mean, like, in order to stop the criminal element, because you're going to have criminals, like, I don't know, rapists. Educate them to what? They're not doing it because they don't have money. They're not doing it because they're impoverished, you know? And then you have, like, ideological criminals. Like, let's assume you actually have a far-right person that goes ra-ta-ta-ta-ta in a crowd. How would a psychologist help? Like, what exactly do you think they will achieve? Okay? Like, I mean, you need to be delusional. I don't know. If this is what you're thinking, you know, go live in your utopia, but stay far away from me because, like, we don't agree. We don't. Call the police. Yes. So now on Twitter, you have people saying Destiny taking the fash mask off because he agrees that if you're being assaulted and you already showed your firearm and the person still comes to get you, then perhaps it's reasonable to believe that that person is not going to just come to get you to hold your hand and have a pleasant conversation with you. I mean, the onus must also be on the other guy. Like, okay, the guy has a weapon. He's running away from me. You know, maybe it's best to leave him to the authorities. Maybe I shouldn't pursue. Maybe I shouldn't antagonize the person that has a weapon. Like, I mean, that's how I would be thinking. But I suppose, like, Vosh expects everyone to be Batman, to be, like, the world's best vigilante and start, you know, tackling criminals and... I don't know. Like, he was actually creating these scenarios. It's like, oh, yes, but what if the person ran away and then he became a danger to other people somewhere else? I mean, that's a lot of maybes. I don't know. What if the person was an alien in disguise and he would go into his UFO if he managed to escape and then started zapping protesters from above the flying saucer? I mean, it could happen, right? Fuck me. And now people are saying that, yeah, Destiny is a fascist and he's removing the mask. And there's a lot of big brain people like that. And I'm starting to wonder, my God, if Destiny is a fascist, like if Destiny, okay, he is who is the centrist now? Who is the centrist? Like, I'm legitimately curious, who is in the center? Which type of individual would you consider that he's not a communist, but he's not a fascist either? I want some names. I'm really curious. If you're a communist and watching this, give me some names of people who are neither fascists but not communists, and they're somewhere in the middle. Maybe it's Shuanhead, huh? Let me know what you think, and I'll see you guys in the comment section.